Do you want to be wealthy? I know, it's a super direct, kind of provocative question to just throw out there right at the start. But here's the really good news. If your answer is an absolute, emphatic yes, the path to get there doesn't mean you have to be some flawless, all-knowing genius. Actually, scratch that. It's literally the exact opposite, as you'll see.
All right, moving to Section 1, the myth of solo wealth and shattering the lone genius illusion.
You know, throughout history, very few people, like almost zero, have ever created world-changing wealth relying entirely on their own two hands. We all absolutely love this romantic myth of the lone genius toiling away in a garage. But the reality? It's just not true. Steve Jobs, for instance, wasn't some legendary programmer. His actual genius was gathering world-class programmers, visionary designers, and uniting them around one shared vision. Henry Ford didn't literally invent the automobile. He built an unprecedented system, the assembly line, that changed an entire industry. And Walt Disney definitely wasn't drawing every single frame of those classic movies by himself. He was supported by this massive, vibrant world of artists and engineers. Their superpower wasn't doing everything themselves, it was orchestration.
And that brings us to this brilliantly simple maxim from the text. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. This right here is a foundational rule of wealth architecture. The most successful leaders in history are never intimidated by people who are smarter, more technical, or more creative than they are. No way. They actively seek them out. They know that to build something huge, you absolutely have to surround yourself with people whose intelligence far exceeds your own in specific areas.
Section 2. The power of collective genius. Turning intelligences into a machine. So we've looked at history, but this exact same principle is the beating heart of today's massive global corporations. The text points out that true power isn't raw intelligence. It is turning different, diverse intelligences into a machine that continuously produces results. Think about a massive company today. It's essentially a giant engine made up of thousands of human minds. You've got engineers, lawyers, marketing folks, financial analysts. None of them could build a global empire on their own, but together, harmonized towards a single purpose, they become an absolutely unstoppable force for wealth creation.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the leverage principle. Working smarter, not just harder.
Okay, so how does this collective machine actually generate wealth? Well, it all comes down to leverage. Let's look at the shift in mindset you need here. On the left, we have the solo professional. Think of a highly skilled doctor or a top-tier programmer. They earn money based on their personal skills and the hours they physically put in, right? It's a linear income. But over on the right, we have the entrepreneur. Now, the entrepreneur might not have a medical degree or know how to code, but they organize those multiple, highly specialized skills into one single value-creating system. They connect the dots. The solo professional works in the system while the entrepreneur builds the system. And that is what creates exponential value.
And because the entrepreneur is building a system, their relationship with time is totally different. Wealthy people view time as their absolute most valuable asset. They literally refuse to do everything themselves. Instead, they ruthlessly delegate tasks to people who can do them better or faster. Why? Because the leader has to free up their time to focus on high-level decisions, the stuff that dictates the direction of the whole system. Think about it. You can't steer the ship if you're constantly stuck down in the engine room.
And this brings us to another incredibly powerful principle from the material. Not just hard work, leverage creates wealth. Hard work is great, sure, it's the baseline, but hard work alone without leverage is only going to get you so far. Organizing collective human ability, combining different minds and efforts, is the ultimate form of leverage. You're leveraging the time and expertise of others to build something way bigger than your own two hands ever could.
All right, Section 4, Why Diverse Personalities Matter. The Architecture of a Team.
This is where it gets super interesting. It's not just about finding different technical skills. It's about bringing together fundamentally different ways of seeing the world. Human psychology directly maps into corporate value. Look at how these differing personality types perfectly complement each other. Thinking types provide the cold, hard strategy and analytical rigor, but you absolutely need the feeling types for building trust and keeping the team together. Moving down the list, extroversion is out there networking, opening doors and making noise, while introversion provides that deep, quiet focus needed to actually execute on those plans. And finally, judging traits ensure strict discipline and implementation, perfectly balanced by perceiving traits that provide the flexibility to pivot when things inevitably change. It's like a giant puzzle. Great companies aren't made of clones. They are rich ecosystems built on these exact psychological contrasts.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate success formula, the final lesson.
We've looked at the history,
We've broken down the leverage principle, and we've analyzed the psychology of a winning team. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? True success isn't about exhausting yourself trying to be the best at absolutely everything. It is about taking diverse, sometimes even conflicting abilities and combining them into a massive, unified power that you could never create alone. It's the realization that your true potential isn't limited by your own personal skills, but by your ability to organize the skills of others.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to take away from this explainer. What diverse talents will you leverage to build your system? Seriously, look around you. Who has the skills you lack? Who has the personality traits that balance yours out? The architecture of collective wealth is waiting to be built, but it requires you to stop trying to be the lone genius and start acting like the architect. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive has completely reframed how you view teamwork, time, and success. Keep learning, keep leveraging, and I'll see you next time.